Hello and welcome to another episode of Signals from the Inside. I'm your host, Maisie Lovett. This is a space where we decode the symptoms no one else can explain so you can finally spot the pattern, stop the pattern, and shift the pattern for good. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about how low self-love affects your health, your relationships, and your business. And I think it's something that truthfully is not discussed enough. I think a lot of practitioners, business coaches, a lot of gurus out there, they're talking about self-love in a way of come back home to yourself and how do you feel about yourself? But that's not truly it. Low self-love doesn't just affect how you feel about yourself. It affects every decision that you make because it's how do you treat yourself? How do you treat yourself in your business? How do you treat yourself in relationships? How do you treat yourself in your health? So I want to show you how all these things come up because self-love and self-care, this is not like, let's go take bubble baths. Let's do affirmations every day, just positive thinking. And it's not just let's come home to ourselves and love ourselves first. There's so much more to it. And how do you treat yourself? So I want to talk about how does this show up in your health? Because low self-love can look like ignoring symptoms, not prioritizing sleep, people pleasing at your own expense. It could show up as chronic stress, burnout, emotional eating, over exercising, under eating. Your body pays the price. Let's look at how this shows up in your relationships. It could look like settling. It could look like weak boundaries, fear of abandonment, overgiving, accepting less than you deserve, and really questioning, do I deserve this? How does it show up in your business? It could look like undercharging because you feel like you don't deserve the higher price. Who would pay that? Why would they pay me that? They'll pay somebody else that. Over delivering. So you're always giving more for sake of not enough. Fear of visibility. Who's going to see me do what? How are they going to think about me? Difficulty receiving. This could be difficulty receiving more money and more clients. Now, you might be sitting here saying, that's ridiculous. Of course, I want to receive more clients. Sure. And of course, you want to receive more money. Sure. But receiving more clients and more money typically means being more visible. Typically means having more people on your schedule. And if you already live in a fear of visibility or a fear of burnout, you're blocking yourself. It also shows up in your business when you're discounting your expertise. Oh, I had a client do that one time. Sis, we increased the rates. I let her do it in a way that was comfortable. It was still low, but we grew and she grew. And the final way that it shows up in your business is shrinking your voice. Now that we got all of that out the way, let's talk about how to heal it because that's important. Now that we're recognizing these patterns, now we have to shift them. Number one, I want you to ask, would I treat someone I love this way? How would I treat my best friend? Would I treat my best friend the way that I'm treating myself? Be honest with yourself. Number two, find one place that you are abandoning yourself and then stop. Maybe it's your health. Now, a lot of times that's the reason why clients come to me. I know what to do. I can't do it. So we start small. And I think it's because so many times whenever people look at health or they look at exercise or they look at nutrition, it's this all or nothing mentality because that's what they were taught. But they weren't taught how to maintain. They weren't taught how to find balance because I hear a lot of gurus say balance doesn't exist. It does in my book because I weigh out my health, my business, my family, my relationships. And if they're not all balanced, am I going to have to give one to the other? Yeah, but I want to stay at a good, when one flips or one feels a bit heavier, we want to find the rebalance. So it might look like this, but I'm staying within an even space. Number 3, start honoring your body faster. Not after the burnout, not after crisis, sooner than that. Find different ways of honoring your body. And number 4, track the evidence of self-respect, not self-esteem, self-respect. Self-love grows through actions. Again, it's how you treat yourself. How do you show up for yourself? If you're not consistently showing up for yourself, your self-love is low. And it's affecting everything in your business, your health, your relationships. This is where we need to get out of that. And that's where we start. This is why I encourage you, if you're in that space of, I can't make it on my own, I can't figure out how to do this, all these tools and tips are so great and so helpful, but I can't even make myself do that consistently. Well, then DM me MAP. Let's talk about it. Let's really dive into the deeper rooted question of why and the real root cause of what's going on, so you can spot the pattern, stop the pattern, shift the pattern. And as always, if you love the content that I'm putting out, I encourage you to give me a like, share, hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.